Hello, Year Sevens. I hope that you are well. In today's lesson, our focus will be on understanding the difference between inherited and environmental variation. I hope that you're in a quiet place away from all distractions and fully equipped to begin the lesson. Our first task is to complete the retrieval questions. Please pause the video and complete the 4 questions now. There is also an extension task with keywords to support you. We have got genes, characteristics, chromosomes, and variation. Off you go now. Number 1 says, give 3 examples of inherited characteristics. That could be our hair color, or blood group, or nose shape, and other examples from our previous lessons. Number 2 states, what does inherited variation mean? Different combinations of DNA or genes or characteristics that you inherit from your parents. Number 3 states, on a bar chart, which variable is shown on the x-axis? That would be the independent variable. That is the variable that the experimenter controls. And number 4 says, why does a bar chart need a title in order to tell the reader what the graph is showing? The extension asks us to explain how Yusuf can roll his tongue, but his sister cannot. Siblings can inherit different combinations of genes, resulting in slightly different characteristics. Yusuf inherited the gene for rolling tongue. Our success criteria is to understand how the environment can cause variation, to be able to identify characteristics which are inherited and which are environmental, and to develop practical evaluation skills. So let's recap. Characteristics are the features or traits belonging to an individual or a group. We inherit our characteristics from our parents through sexual reproduction. When the sperm and egg combine, we get a full set of chromosomes, 23 pairs in fact, half from the mother and half from the father. These chromosomes contain the genes which code for our characteristics. For each offspring, a different combination of genes is passed on, causing inherited variation. So, on the left, we have an image of Katy Perry with her natural features or characteristics. She has inherited dark brown hair and blue eyes. On the right, she looks completely different. What has happened? Environmental factors have caused changes. Hair dye has been used to change her hair to blue. Her skin is a much darker shade through tanning, and her eyes appear bluer. These are all examples of environmental variation. So what is environmental variation? It is the different ways in which our inherited characteristics develop due to environmental factors. Stress, for instance, can result in nearsightedness or farsightedness and the need to wear glasses. Excessive exposure to sunlight can result in a different shade of skin tone. So, why is this? So let's look more closely at what environmental variation is. Features or characteristics of animal and plant species can be affected by factors such as climate, diet, accidents, culture, and lifestyle. For example, if you eat too much, you will become heavier, and if you eat too little, you will become lighter. A plant in the shade of a big tree will grow taller as it tries to reach more light. Variation caused by the surroundings is called environmental variation. Here are some other examples of features or characteristics that show environmental variation. Scars on body, tattoos on skin, fillings in teeth, cosmetic surgery, and accent because of where we live. So why is the baby not born with these tattoos? Environmental variation cannot be inherited because it isn't in the genes. It therefore cannot be passed on to children. Here is an activity for you. Arrange these characteristics into inherited, environmental, or both. And your extension is to think of 3 more characteristics which have not been included. Would they be environmental, inherited, or both? Please pause the video and attempt this question now. You may have included the following as examples of inherited variation: tongue rolling, the blood group that we have, or nose shape, and any dimples that we have. These are all things that pass down because of genes. However, examples of environmental variation could be scars and our accent, and under the category of both freckles, glasses, hair color, or weight, or height, or IQ, and our skin color. These can all be either inherited variation or environmental variation. Please pause the video and attempt to correct your work now. Here is a typical exam question. There are 2 varieties of nettle plants, some with large broad leaves on the right and some with narrow thin leaves on the left. How could the differences in these nettles be down to inherited variation and environmental variation? So, our success criteria includes the following. What do genes do? Think about each plant and think about how the genetic code would impact upon the look of the plant. Where have these genes come from, and how could this cause inherited variation? If the nettles have grown in different environments, what could happen? Give examples of different factors which could cause environmental variation in these nettle plants. Think about the impact of photosynthesis, how this might be an example of environmental variation, and please try to use correct spellings throughout. So, your response should have included some or all of the following. The plants have different genes that control leaf width. One nettle plant genes for broad leaves and the other has genes for narrow leaves. These genes would have been passed on or inherited from the parent plants, meaning that the 2 nettle plants have variation or inherited variation. One of the nettles may have had more sunlight, so is able to grow more due to more photosynthesis. Or one may have had more water or more minerals from the soil. Now, you want to look at what you've written and compare it to the ideas that are here. And you might want to now pause the video and have a go at up-leveling your response in order to make it more detailed. Finally, Year 7s, there are 3 activities here for you. The first one says, give a brief description of how people can develop features or characteristics from their environment. The second one says, intelligence can be both inherited or environmental. Explain how this is possible and give an example. And finally, in a scientific investigation, looking at how light affects growth of plants, for example, scientists look at hundreds of plants rather than just one or two. Why do you think they do this? You can choose one of these activities and have a go at doing that. Fantastic effort, year sevens. Well done.